While many of the attitudes regarding the self is predicated on a materialist perspective, I think that this view is too narrow to hold if we are to understand the nature of man. Today I will be exploring the conception of being and selfhood within the recognition of God and man as consisting of a tripartite nature of body, soul, and spirit. Additionally, I will be explaining my view on the tripartite nature of man and how it is related to and experienced through consciousness. Now, this is a position informed by my Christian perspective as someone who grew up outside of the faith but then was saved in adulthood at 25. So in order for us to get started today, we're going to have to talk about the conditions that are required to prove that we do in fact exist. One of the most prevalent positions regarding being is the notion that the self is an illusion or that we are comprised of only consciousness. Some will even go so far as to suggest that our sentience is merely a mutation from the baseline necessity of cognition. Generally, this position requires a large degree of self-denial and carries a pervading refusal of all aspects of physical existence. I think that one of the most succinct logical proofs for the existence of both the self and the world can be found in René Descartes' Meditations of First Philosophy. Through the course of his meditations, Descartes calls into doubt many aspects of being in order to ascertain some truth about existence and the self. He believes that truth can be found through rational thought, so he carries out his mental exercise step by step through his writings. He begins his meditation by supposing everything he sees and experiences is false, and that his memories cannot be trusted. He continues by stating the following. But how do I know there is not something else over and above all those things that I have just reviewed, concerning which there is not even the slightest occasion for doubt? Is there not some God, or by whatever name I might call him, who instills these very thoughts in me? But why would I think that, since I myself could perhaps be the author of these thoughts? Am I not then at least something? But I have already denied that I have any senses and any body. Still, I hesitate. For what follows from this? Am I so tied to a body and to the senses that I cannot exist without them? But I have persuaded myself that there is absolutely nothing in the world. No sky, no earth, no minds, no bodies. Is it then the case that I too do not exist? But doubtless I did exist, if I persuaded myself of something. But there is some deceiver or other who is supremely powerful and supremely sly, and who is always deliberately deceiving me. Then too there is no doubt that I exist, if he is deceiving me. And let him do his best at deception, he will never bring it about that I am nothing, so long as I shall think that I am something. Thus, after everything has been most carefully weighed, it must finally be established that this pronouncement, I am, I exist, is necessarily true every time I utter it or conceive it in my mind. So, with Descartes' logical proof, we can assert that we do in fact exist. While there is a level of subjectivity to our perception, there is also a foundation to our reality. With that, we can see that aspects of the physical world are not only observable for the individual, but can be shared amongst peoples. So we exist. We are limited and flawed. But what else? What else can we determine about our nature? The tripartite nature of man is an understanding of being that is found in biblical Christianity that states that man is composed of body, soul, and spirit. Each part of us has different characteristics and carries out a different role. Let's briefly explore what we can know about ourselves when we examine each aspect of the tripartite nature. The body. As we can rightfully assume, we have a body. Our vessels are limited in nature in terms of energy expenditure and the faculties of perception. The body exists in time, and the body is finite. The soul. So the soul cannot be seen by us, but it can be felt. The soul can carry emotion and personality. The soul is eternal. It's for this reason that I believe that the soul is at the core of extracting recognition of selfhood. And the spirit. The spirit is said to be like the wind. The spirit is the part of us that seeks after God. The spirit is the part of us that communes with God. If we have undergone the circumcision of the spirit, this is the means by which we are able to receive both peace and wisdom from God. Now that we've explored the characteristics of body, soul, and spirit, we can fit together the last piece to determine our being and establish our selfhood. So, we've discussed the nature of being in terms of body, soul, and spirit, but what about the mind? Is consciousness just the soul? It doesn't make sense to believe that the mind is composed of only soul, because much of our recognition is most evidently concerned with the condition of physical perception and or the faculties of the body. Additionally, it doesn't seem likely to assume that consciousness is derived from a merely random firing of a solely physical source, because we can imagine beyond reasonable conception. To elaborate, I mean that much of the best innovation or art has been conceived through unexpected jumps of logic and reason, yet arrived to an answer, truth, or beauty that was previously unarticulated prior to its creation, but at once appears to the onlooker as a perfectly agreeable piece that seems very well to have always existed. In this way, we can see that works we hold in a high regard touch upon a truth or essence of inherent understanding. Certainly, there are physical, neurological imprints of consciousness that can be recorded and captured in the brain with technology. However, it seems unreasonable to me to assume that observations of limited accuracy could earnestly be seen as a confirmation of a solely physical origin for consciousness. While the presence of our consciousness can be etched into the mind and physical reality, and most assuredly exists uniquely in separate individual bodies, consciousness must also be considered as an extension of the self that transcends both time and the material. It is therefore my belief that consciousness is the access point in which we experience the resonance of body, soul, and spirit. Consciousness can be seen as the understanding and will of the self that is expressed by the culmination of our tripartite nature. As it is an expression of this nature, we can recognize that our consciousness is not without limitation or fail. Even when we set our minds to it, we are not always capable of determining the weaknesses of our own awareness, yet we can perceive lack. When we look at consciousness as part of self, we can determine there is a limitation of what we can see and what can be expressed at any given time with our material body. We know that we're not complete or perfect because we're always able to conceptualize ourselves as greater or more fully embodied in some way. At once, we can feel the sensations of the body mixed with the moods of the soul, mixed with a spirit that is either dead or alive. Sometimes we may become abstracted from ourselves and not even feel as though we occupy a physical body. At times we may doubt that we have a soul or spirit. Other times we may perceive the body, soul, and spirit in varying proportions. Know that relying on emotion or physical sensation alone can leave you very much open to being deceived about the true nature of your situations in life, and that it is important to also utilize the rational mind. And the rational mind, as we know, was given to us from God. And given our flawed nature with our perception and the subjectivity in which we perceive reality, this is why Christians very much believe in using the Bible as a means to measure truth and reality as they go throughout life. This is what we mean when we say that our reason can fall short, and so what may appear good in our eyes may actually not be the best choice for us. As stated in the Bible, because the foolishness of God is wiser than men, and the weakness of God is stronger than men. And this is why reading the Bible is important, as the Bible is God's living word, a measure and glimpse into His being and will that we can use to correct our perceptions of ourselves and the world. This in turn enables us to discern the choices we need to make in order to create a life that is founded in wisdom and peace. This is why Christians choose to serve God, because they recognize that satisfying personal desire is not freedom, but slavery. And through the Holy Spirit, we are able to turn away from temptation, mortify the flesh, and live in accordance to a greater conception of the self than what we alone could have ever imagined. Your tripartite nature of body, soul, and spirit mirrors that of God, which is why we are said to be made in the image of God. We are all made with free will, and so we ultimately are the ones that decide whether or not we want to spend eternity with God or away from Him. He wishes for everyone to be saved, but He will never violate your free will. Know that it is never too late to turn to God, and that there is no act too terrible that He cannot forgive. So with that, if you would like to learn more about the gospel and what it takes to get saved, I will link a very helpful video in the description. Other than that, thank you so much for watching. I really hope that you gained something from this video. If there is a topic that I touched on today that you would like me to talk more about in the future, just let me know, and I will consider making a video covering that subject at a later time. Okay, alright, thank you guys, take care, bye.